Nobody ever talks about how broken Kuma's devil fruit is, his Hexy superpower. Like, think about it. Whitebeard, the strongest man in the world, has a literal superpower that allows him to make earthquakes, to punch you with force, a power so great that there's even statements that say with his power that he can destroy the very world with this tremor fruit. In theory, couldn't Kuma wait until Whitebeard used this apparent world-destroying force on a character and damage this character with his punches, with his devil fruit and stuff? Sit back and wait for Whitebeard to hit this same character a bunch of times with strikes? And then after the certain character accumulates all this damage, right? Couldn't Kuma just say, let me push all of that world-destroying damage or pain out of your body and use it as a weapon against my foes? To technically kind of cheat, so if a strong character hits a character, Kuma can kind of use your strength against you by pushing that pain or damage that you caused back onto you. You could pretty much literally be a million times stronger than him and he could still hurt you. Like if Whitebeard really produced this energy on a character and then Kuma pushed it out, then Akuma would apparently be able to produce that same force or damage. And based on deflecting that ridiculous damage or pain, he could produce that kind of raw power, world-destroying damage or pain. You see how hexy Kuma can be? Hopefully you will enjoy this video and understand it even further. Before Kuma got experimented on, he actually used to have pupils in his eyes that can be seen actually. But you probably remember him looking like this for the most part. But don't lie, a part of you probably wondered, why is he so big? Well, the short answer is his genetics, of course. He was always big. You know how One Piece, certain characters have genetic advantages over other people and they have to work harder to get stronger. He's one of the people, he still has to work hard to get stronger, but he definitely had a jump start. Similar to how in One Piece there's giant beings that get a jump start because of their size, automatically makes them strong from default. I guess you can kind of say that about Kuma because the highest beings or order of the government pretty much explained what he is. He was born a slave. Yeah, of course he is, right? Born a slave because of his genetics. He's a descendant of people that committed a grave sin against the world, apparently. I mean, just look at the size difference between him and others. He's a survivor of the now extinct Buccaneer race. One could say that's part of the reason why he's always carrying around a Bible, like in images. You always see him holding a Bible, like he's talking about being liberated, basically. The smartest man in the world basically calls Kuma one of those rare and unique racial ancestry type beings and how they're relentlessly being slaughtered and persecuted. This is pretty much where they bring up Kuma again. So one could say he got some giant in his blood somewhere. You know, he was a flesh and blood being, then got experimented on willingly, like, yeah, the science person. That's how he ended up getting cybernetic parts to himself because all the experiments over the time. Another image of it here. Zoro even states that he's even harder than iron. Imagine being so strong where the government feels like they got to make clones out of your physique. Things known as pacifista. No, they literally use the word clone. There was even a point where he lost his free will, but due to his genetics or his just love or just straight up willpower, he was able to somehow move, even though Vegapunk programmed something that would completely shut down his body completely. Through sheer will, somehow, or through genetics or whatever, he was able to move even while he's apparently supposed to be shut down. Yeah, this is more than likely unconditional love because of his, you know, he loves his daughter. Back when he was younger, before all this stuff happened, even though he was born with crazy genetics, he did eat an actual devil fruit, one of these special fruits in this universe that gives people special powers. Anytime people are after a devil fruit, just eat it. You know it's powerful. And that's how that happened. It's this pawpaw fruit that allows him literally to deflect anything, which kind of makes him very destructive when it comes to blast power, which I'm going to talk about a lot throughout this video. Without necessarily relying on devil fruit, he knows this special technique via training that everybody has, this mysterious power known as haki. There's different tiers of haki, armor, conquerors, blah, blah, blah. You can usually tell when a character is using haki. The animators, they do this for us, our viewers, that they animate the character's fist or limbs black when they're like using this technique or special power within everybody, haki. It's basically like invisible armor to help increase a person's punching power, strikes, increase their durability around their body as well. But it's technically invisible, but for us viewers, we get to see the black outline. This pretty much puts everybody's theories to rest on whether or not he can use haki. Yes, he can amplify his strikes with this mysterious power everybody has. He's trained himself to do so sometime in the past, off screen, which is why he can punch, or it can help him punch really hard. You know, haki. This image is a perfect visual of him improving as time goes by, always running. And just to reiterate his size, his muscle has to be strong just from default from his size. Not to mention he got cybernetic enhancements. This sucks he's enslaved, but it's proven that he's definitely strong. Look at all this he can lift up, for example. Even while young with no devil fruit before any enhancements. I guess he's really good for manual labor. I mean, he can do stuff a lot easier than other people. Carrying stuff while also carrying a person. One of the elders of the government punches him. I don't want to spam you guys with this, but seriously, look how small people look compared to him. See this big old slab he moved out the way? Thanks to cybernetic enhancements, he can shoot light energy blasts. One could say he has light speed attacks from default. Laser blasts from his mouth he can technically shoot. A human that can shoot out laser beams. Thanks to cybernetic enhancements. When we talk about Kuma's devil fruit, it really feels mystical. Like, in a way, he can literally deflect anything. Even intangible stuff like deflecting damage out of somebody's body or pain. Like, one could say he technically instantly heal somebody? I guess the one weakness to this is that when he does deflect this pain, this has to go somewhere or it will return back to them. So who's going to take it? Kuma's a nice guy, so he won't tell you this, but majority of the time, if he actually heals you of your pain, he's more than likely taking in the pain himself so it doesn't return to the people that got their pain taken out of their body. Yikes, this is painful. He's literally shouldering their burden to where he has to get hospitalized. But that's kind of cool. He can literally deflect pain. Like, he literally took all the damage out of Luffy. Like, Luffy's literally fine. All the injuries are gone. And that's how he got the famous Nothing Happened Zoro scene where he had to withstand all Luffy's pain. And might I mention, he ended up meeting Luffy's dad and became a Revolutionary Army member. Oh yeah, but back to his devil fruit. He can copy actual memories. Another fact that's intangible. He doesn't lose the memory. He can make a copy of the memory. This actually came in handy because when he lost his free will and you want to know the truth, this bubble will let you see the truth of this. One of his most useful ways of using his devil fruit is literally deflecting attacks. So if somebody tries to hit him, if it lands on these hands, it's like a waste of your time. You're probably thinking all you got to do is attack him without his paws being able to deflect the attack. All you got to do is get a straight, clean hit, right? Nope, he's more durable than you think. Even beings that are superhumanly strong like Sanji, who can kick giant crocodiles in the air like this, can't dent him. So yeah, he's just durable. He also has one of those abilities that can literally send you flying and make you go vast distances. The only limit one could say is that he can only send people flying places he's been to in the world. Like, he's traveled quite a bit, so. This devil fruit is probably why he's actually fast, because he can send others flying and he can technically send himself flying, basically giving himself crazy speed. Like a small example right here is how he's right here. In speed, he's instantly behind him. So that kind of lets you know he can just move himself quick. Right here's a clear example of it on how he can basically have super speed. Like, he can send himself flying, but I guess he can't twist and turn because if there's something in the way, like this big old wall, for example, he'll just crash into it. Like, he might be able to send himself flying to a certain place, but if something's in the way, it might kind of ruin the path of what he's trying to get to. He's basically doing what I've wondered could Kizaru do with his light speed. Like, why can't Kizaru just fly to any island and pretty much in the world with his light speed? Like, you know what I mean? I've always wondered that about One Piece. I know the One Piece world is big, but hey, Kuma can travel without no boat. Like, it's even shown here on how he just says, let me just hit myself with my own superpower, and he sent himself flying. It's pretty clear that Kuma has to be close to light speed because there was these two top tiers fighting, Rayleigh a top tier, and Kizaru, an admiral of the Navy. He's a being that can turn into actual light, kick you with actual light-based attacks. Yeah, his leg can actually turn to light. Yeah, he can strike you at the speed of light. He even talks about how speed is weight. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? Like, these are the type of characters who can actually move like this. And Kuma, like, in the middle of these two fighting, can get in the middle of these two fighting. He's literally able to intercept these beings that are clearly not fighting slow. So yeah, when it comes to combat speed and just raw speed in general, both of them, he can just combat, move at these speeds. This animation is pretty accurate on how fast he would be, you know, making himself look like he has a lot of hands when he really doesn't. That's fighting speed. And all of this leads to what I've been building up to, like his devil fruit can shoot with a lot of concussive blast power, like different techniques of blast power, like this super powerful shockwave ability. See, he can create crazy powerful blasts because he states on how when he does this thing known as the pad cannon, he deflects or repels air at light speed, creating a shockwave that penetrates a lot of things. Like, that's part of the physics on why his devil fruit can blast with so much force. I know air is light, but anything being reflected at light speed is going to create force. Yeah, blast power. But just a friendly reminder, even though he has a lot of blast power, with his devil fruit, never forget with just straight punches, thanks to haki and strength, just raw muscle, he can punch not only one of the strongest beings in the world, I'm not even going to get to that yet, but yeah, the collateral of his punch can literally collapse buildings. So just don't get it twisted. He's strong with his physicals too, or just with straight hands. He just usually doesn't need to ball up his fist though, but he can hit this hard to collapse multiple buildings or two with just a single punch, like just hands. He rarely needs to use his actual hands because his blast power is so crazy. Let's talk about that. Like I already mentioned, thanks to him repelling the air at light speed, apparently he can create ridiculous shockwaves that can go from one target to the next and hit multiple beings with one attack. Look at what repelling air does to the ground. Blast does this to all these different stones and keeps on going. I'm not even about to go into a full-blown analysis on why doing this to Frankie's impressive with ease. Considering how durable Frankie is, him doing this to him this easily is a feat. Yeah, elemental attacks he can deflect back at you. There was this like giant being known as Ors. He was like literally bigger than ships and stuff. This is another light example of proof that Kuma could definitely easily level buildings because of this being as big as ships. He's able to affect this being, break his sword in the process with his blast or shockwave, and also affect beings that are not necessarily him, affecting a wider radius than just his size. All of this got blew away. Pretty much one shot in. The Seraphim literally have Kuma's ability. I'm not saying he can do all the stuff Seraphim can do because Seraphim have different abilities like added durability because of the Lunarian race and stuff. I'm not saying Kuma can do that durability wise. I'm just saying stuff like this is his ability, Kuma's ability. Bear shock that can blow away buildings. So yeah, that stuff is expected for Kuma to be able to do that too. Get a good look at this angle and how wide this explosion is compared to actual buildings. Yeah, he has blast that can delete buildings easily. And this is probably his most famous blast power technique of applying pressure, a ball of air being compressed, and when he releases it back to its normal state, it's going to create a shockwave like a bomb. That's pretty much proven to be able to level multiple buildings with ease. So he can level your whole block with blast. So not just leveling one building, but multiple at this point. He can level your whole block. I mean, matter of fact, it looked like he shook the whole Thriller bark to its core. Like even places that are not near the epicenter were feeling the impacts or effects. Yeah, Thriller bark itself got shook. Like you can see the shockwaves because of his blast. Like Thriller bark is an actual literal island, and he did all this. So not just a city block, but he can quake, tremble the entirety of Thriller bark with his blast. During this point in time, the Straw Hat crew, powerhouses included Kuma, was just out of their league. I want you to remember even lower tier Straw Hats like Nico Robin, who's pretty strong, but he made her look like a joke just like the rest of the Straw Hats. Keep in mind of the beings that Nico Robin has defeated in the past. This being known as Pale, she easily defeated, right? I'm just giving you a perspective. Beings low tier like this compared to the top tiers like Kuma can withstand and survive a bomb or an explosion that was going to destroy the whole city and everybody. And he withstood this kind of stuff point blank. Like this guy's a low tier. This is back before hockey was introduced. And beings in One Piece still can withstand stuff like this with their raw durability and not die. Like he was hurt, but he did not die. That damage would have been catastrophic. He actually saved the kingdom by dragging the bomb up in the air. That just gives you some perspective that Kuma should easily be able to destroy entire cities with his blast on some nuclear type stuff. Like you can be in the island minding your own business. He can just blast this whole place away. Just do some basic understanding of this universe when it comes to the Revolutionary Army. Not saying Kuma's up here with this guy, but when it comes to other characters in the Revolutionary Army, we kind of get an idea of how these characters can face off against some government ranks like Sabo. Kuma does not seem to be a low-tier Revolutionary Army fighter. I think a fair assumption, we ain't seen him do it, of course, but I think a fair assumption would be to assume, just like how Sabo can kind of curb stomp vice admirals of the Navy. Yes, look at the hierarchy. Yeah, vice admirals are this high in the hierarchy. A fair assumption would be to assume that Kuma could do the same. I mean, just think about the power levels in this world. Even beings captain rank way down here in this rank, when it comes to power level, they're not even vice admiral rank yet, and they can still punch, thanks to hockey and stuff, with enough force to punch island-sized beings that have arms the size of mountains. This should give you further implications of what the top tier should be able to do. Kuma's got to be stronger than vice admirals, if I'm being honest. So by default, them being able to blow up or mess up islands, mountains, all that stuff should be easily believable in this universe. If characters like Kobe can do it. Kobe's nowhere near his prime either, by the way. And this is what Sabo does to Vice Admiral. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Kuma can do this too. You see what I mean? Whether we're talking about hockey punches, a mixture of both, I don't think it really matters. He could blast or punch apart multiple mountains with one hit, stuff like that. That should be light work. In a small way, you can kind of get an idea of Kuma's strength by these pacifistas because of course, he's stronger than the actual pacifistas because the Straw Hats even noticed on how they was able to take him down. And they was like, wait a minute, that feels different. This can't be the real him. So I let you know that the real Kuma's stronger than these. So don't take these too serious when you see them beating him here. This situation proves he's way above pacifista, guys. So, the elders of the government. Yep. There's Kuma's look again. Yeah, that's not Kuma, but yeah, they're using the same abilities as Kuma. They're just stronger versions of I've already showed you in this video. Remember how I talked about earlier on how I believe he could curb stomp a vice admiral just like how Sabo could? Well, let's just say he survived an encounter with a being way at the top of the food chain, higher than vice admiral level. Not saying he's necessarily equal, but he did come face to face with one of the scariest admirals, strongest beings in the world. Of course, Kuma didn't actually want to fight him, so he just sent himself flying to escape him. Due to his haxy nature of his superpowers, one could say he could jump tiers. Even if you're technically stronger than him, let's just hypothetically say, for example, If somebody was actually durable enough to withstand a blast from an ancient weapon, right? Let's just hypothetically speak for a second. These overpowered weapons that exist in this world, by the way, guys, they can get pretty freaking destructive. In theory, if somebody was to use an ancient weapon and somebody miraculously survived the blast of it, right? Let's just say miraculously, right? All that damage that somebody absorbed, he can technically push that damage out and push it on somebody else, producing an equivalent amount of that damage. We know that ancient weapons in this world sank the world's continents that used to be on this planet. They've even been described as world-sinking weapons, capable of sinking the world. If somebody miraculously, I'm not saying somebody has, I'm just saying miraculously, if somebody survived the blast, the damage they sustained, Kuma would be able to pretty much produce that same energy if he reflected that damage out at somebody and hit somebody with that same damage. He would be able to produce world-sinking type of damage. I'm talking about being able to mess up these large continents on this One Piece world, like type of stuff. Doesn't it make you scared of Kuma's potential? Like his hacksy nature of his powers? He could essentially be a threat for any character, even if you're stronger than him. I guess the only way to counter him would be like a top tier hockey user that's a better hockey user that can nullify devil fruit powers maybe. But if you catch yourself slipping on your guard down, he can hit you with that same amount of damage you can deal. Like, let's just think about it for a second. Somebody like Enel, right, that exists in One Piece, he has a devil fruit. He can shoot energy blasts, electric blasts that can produce explosions so big that beings from Earth can see the explosion all the way from Earth, all the way at the moon. Beings like Enel can create explosions this large. While they say the moon explodes, like say if somebody was to survive a blast and get damaged by something this powerful, right? Wouldn't Kuma be able to redirect that damage that you had to withstand right here and technically be able to produce a similar amount of damage output to that moon size or dang near 1/5 the size of the moon type explosion? Like that's the type of stuff by default he technically would be able to dish back out, wouldn't he? Like nobody ever thinks about these things, but what's the limits of how much he can absorb and redirect back? Is there a limit on how much damage he can smack out of somebody? What the heck is his devil fruit awakening ability? Like, for example, if Whitebeard was to punch somebody with world-destroying punching power, right, because of his devil fruit, right? Yep, they state that he has the power to destroy the very world. If this statement is actually true, yeah, I know it's just a statement, but in theory, if somebody was to withstand the damage of something like this, couldn't Kuma just reflect this world-destroying damage he inflicted, reflect this world-destroying damage back on somebody else and produce world-destroying damage? Well, yeah, isn't that kind of cheating? Couldn't he technically do that in theory? I mean, he does have haki, and we've seen him in the newest manga chapters battle world government members that are even higher ranked than this. One of the elders of the government. We've actually seen Kuma with a haki punch without even spamming his devil fruit draw blood from beings like this, beings of the highest order. So I definitely believe Kuma is stronger than what we've been thinking. This is another occasion. I'm not necessarily saying this proves that he's up there with the elders of the government, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he's above Vice Admiral level like I showed earlier. Hey, I don't want to jump to no conclusions, but look at the elder's facial expression after his punch. Punching one of the 5 elders, the highest authority of the world. Yeah, everybody, but I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I gave you some new perspective on Kuma, on how scary his power could be if used correctly. However, Bonnie believes that you should hit that like button, and I agree. Can you do that for me? It really would help out a lot. But before I get going, thanks for the donations, everybody. Yeah, Kuma's kind of crazy. You probably didn't think about all this stuff, did you? I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.